beneficial to get this time off? Is there challenges to it? Just
No,
what are these last
we're
couple
taking
weeks
it, and you need it in any set of playoff circumstances. But we ran 12 hard games, really physical, and a lot of travel in there. So, it's a flight day, so that's not really a day off because you get home about 3, and then between medical and the coaches, everybody's in except for you just don't skate. So you get back on the ice today. So the challenges are good challenges, right? You've got it's almost the same setup as the start from our regular season push that was so heavy with that schedule. Then we needed those 4 or 5 days before the Boston series, so it schedules out just about the same.
Everyone, and you talked about just how fun this group has been all year long. Obviously today everyone's saying that it's the most fun they've ever had. Is it even a different level now? I'm just curious, like how the mood of the room is kind of ebbed and flowed throughout the season. With the way you said they've been pretty steady.
Playoffs are a completely different thing, and in series you can enjoy your day, but there's that tension that you carry. And then in between series is a place where that pressure comes off quite a bit. So it's a different kind of. They're at a point now, you take them home for practice, you go 30 minutes, they go, you're not barking at anybody, you don't need to, right? They're getting up and down the ice, they're having fun. They're in that in between. We know what's coming, so it's a light day.
Hey, Paul. Looking ahead to Carolina, Chucky was just telling us that that's a team that feels like they almost throw your game back at you, where they try to capitalize when you open up. Is it kind of almost like facing a mirror image at this point, the way you guys have been playing in the playoffs?
Be very, very similar. So those would be, I'd put Boston in here too, but probably even analytically the 2 best forechecking teams in the eastern side. Instead of making it a relative statement, 2 teams where their strength is their forecheck, and then the next thing that they always talk about is the same is their gap, right? They defend incredibly hard gap game. So there'll be a lot of similarities in intent of how we want to play the game, for sure.
Paul, you've talked a lot in here in the last couple of weeks about going back to the summer and things that Bill told you and your first call with the team and things of that nature. If I can take you back there one more time, we all know how the second round went. It did not go well for that team at all. Mm-hmm. What was your level of belief that this would be possible in year one to make a deep run, knowing that a lot of things were going to change?
It wasn't a year one schedule. It was, I'd watched Florida play in their playoff the year prior, and then quite a few games this year, and then certainly all of the playoff games. The idea was this: Bill thought, prior to hiring me, that they had to change their style of game, and then he also knew, I don't know what the numbers, depending on whether you count Declare in or out of the lineup for the better part of the year, there's 6 to 7 guys that are going to be missing. There's a big chunk of skill in there that left the team, so we're not going to look as skilled as we did last year, and then we needed to manage that. There was going to be some adversity, and the expectations are you have 122 points. Well, 123 is the only way you have a better season. So that was the idea of the adversity, and it's kind of the perfect time, though. Like, that's the time to change when you've got some difficulties coming, because if you brought the exact same team back and you had 122 points, you say, we got to clean up our playoffs a little bit, and then you wouldn't really change anything. But the change was coming prior to the puck dropping this season, and we dealt with it. That's all the players, though, because at any point in time, if it had gotten to the point that it was too hard for them, they just wouldn't have been able to do it. So that doesn't change how hard it was. It's just they were willing. They've always been willing from the first 5 days of training camp, which were brutal on them. They just stayed in the fight, and they decided not to quit and not to give in. And that idea of that event happened 5 or 6 times in the regular season, and they never quit.
Since we're on that a little, you always talk about you were fishing. What were you fishing for? I'm just curious. Fill out the whole story.
Whatever, a light.
But where were you, down here?
No, it was in Lake of the Woods, up in, it's a place that borders Manitoba, Ontario, and Minnesota. It's a huge lake up there, and we got a spot up there, so.
Okay.
Looking for walleye for the most part.
That wasn't my question.
That's a
My-
US, I think, pickerel if you're Canadian,
Going back to Carolina, obviously, is a storyline here. But I'm more curious, when you left, coaching, it seemed like for good after, and before you came here. And I'm just curious, were you done? And were you surprised when
I
you
was
had them?
good. I don't know the word, but I wouldn't have said
Okay,
that I was
done.
done. I was just good. I had contact from a couple teams in the NHL that were looking for coaches, and there was no fit there in my mind. Nothing to get excited about. Good teams. It had nothing to do with them. It was me. But I had a phone call, I think my first phone call with Bill that we had scheduled. So we kind of talked briefly on the phone while I was driving, and then we scheduled a call. It was probably an hour or two long, and he's just an incredibly interesting guy. Very, very bright. Really good understanding of where he was at with the team, what he was trying to do. And then it truly snowballed. So I don't know that I came down here. I guess it was a job interview. It was more like a meeting. When I come down, we'll talk about it, kind of thing. And then spent about the first 5 hours. The first one was when I landed, went to his place. Just talked hockey for 5 hours. That part. The next day was 10 hours. And I was, pardon the pun, I was hooked. Yeah, I mean, he's just an interesting guy, and I thought, this is something that I could be passionate about. Because at the end of the day, it's job performance for me too, right? Like I want to feel like I'm adding something, doing something, excited about it. You don't just want a job. You don't want just like make the team as a player. You want to be a good player. You want to be a part of a team that you feel like you're adding something. And when I was done talking to Bill, I thought, this is something I could get really excited about. It's going to be really, really hard, but that's kind of part of it too, right? It's a big part of it. So
Were you interviewing him as much as he was interviewing you? And then you turned down a
yeah,
couple jobs.
I guess you could apply those words, but it's not fair because we were just getting to know each other. That's a more honest way. Like I would say that I would agree to you using the word interviewing if I was looking for a job. And I wasn't looking for a job. But I found a interesting place.
Sorry we don't have any walleye down here. We got other stuff, but
No, my kid caught about a 56-inch wahoo the first time we went out. That was pretty good.
yeah, you smoked those up. They're good.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, anyway. You guys are going to Raleigh, North Carolina, a place that has not been kind to the Panthers over the years. You were there for a lot of the Panther beatdowns. Were you there then when you guys were to win? If you beat the Panthers, you were in the playoffs, and then they beat you guys. Was that you weren't the coach then,
I
right?
don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, it's been a house of horrors for the Panthers. How do you guys kind of go in there and maybe change that narrative?
So I don't feel it because I'm new. This is the first time going into Carolina, so I don't have that expectation or that experience. Got a really, really good team. Got a loud building. That's what I know of them. I mean, I think I understand their game. They've been consistent with it for years. So that's their strength, right? That's their advantage. They've been running that program for a while now, and they've been good with it. The connections, I think, for almost all of us, because there's a lot of unusual ones, right? Their coaches, Tuomo, the Stalls, all of that. But it also seems quite removed for me, right? Like it's a decade. And then for Eric, he played on a bunch of other teams and went to the final with Montreal. And Tuomo's been here longer than maybe he was in Carolina. So it's a story, and I get it, and it's, Lord knows, you guys have been running a month now. You're looking for stories, right? Because this is, especially on off days, you still got to grind that stuff out. I get it. And it'll be worth it. There's probably 5 or 6 kind of really important people in my lives that are still in Raleigh, and I'll get to see a bunch of them because they work for the team still. The thing that I notice the most when I get there is how big the trees are. Because when we first started there, they were just planting them, right? And they're all about 2 feet high, and now you can't see the building for the trees. That's what I notice when I go in there. My kids went to high school for a while at the high school across from the rink. How much it's changed, right? The kind of just the different areas have grown and expanded so much. But it's not nearly as nostalgic as maybe you'd think. All 3 of my kids were born there, but I'm not driving by the old house.
Hi, Paul. 2 quick things, if I may. Number 1, for bookkeeping purposes, we saw Lundberg on the ice with a regular jersey. Does that mean he's good to go?
He's good to full combat now, and we'll make that decision coming to the game, but he's going to be an option this series.
Okay. And second thing is, going back to the connection, Rod Brindamore told reporters a few days ago that when he first got into coaching, when he was following you, observing you, he was thinking to himself he wasn't sure if he was cut out for it. So my question is, I'm wondering what your observations were of him at that time and your thoughts on his evolution as a coach.
I think in terms of style of play, he's the best coach in the league. In terms of the consistency of the style that your team plays. You watch that team play, there are very few aberrations in their seasons. And it's 2 or 3 games where it's not quite right. But in terms of the consistency of that, which makes complete sense, because that's the consistency of his life as a player, right? I mean, we get to the rink early and we leave late. And after every game, it's midnight, you're walking out and he's still in the gym. But that's who he was as a player. He put an incredible amount of time in. And then when he decided to be a coach, then he just put that time into coaching. So he was going to be very, very successful. The thing I didn't know about Roddy, he's a quiet player, right? Very intense, not much of a talker. And then we were in Calgary and he got an award for some of the charity work that he did. And one, I didn't know it, right? That he had done all this work. And he received an award and he got up and accepted it and gave a speech, and it was spectacular. And I had no idea that he was that gifted a speaker. So public speaking is part of the job. So he knew the hockey from his entire career. He had the work ethic, absolutely, but being able to communicate an idea is important, and he's really good at it.
Coach, there's a lot of guys in this locker room who were not born the last time the Panthers were in the Eastern Conference Final. That's going to be
I saw that board. What was it? Sasha was like 8 months old or something like that?
It's like 21 or something. I think is the
awesome.
number. But the Game 3 will be the first Eastern Conference Final game in this arena. How excited are you that this big-time hockey is back here in South Florida?
I'm excited because I think there's a really great connection now between the players and the fans. So this is a good team. Like, the core of this team is good, and it's exciting. It goes back to kind of the question about taking the job. The team that I was watching in January, because I wasn't really watching any hockey in January and February, and it had nothing to do with me getting the job. I was watching the Florida Panthers play. I was trying to figure their game out because they were scoring like madmen. It's an exciting game to come and watch play. Sometimes not always for the coach, but for the fans, if you're buying tickets, there's going to be some action out there. And a deeper playoff run will draw attention to the unique players that we have that you can come and enjoy, watch play. So I think what happens in these runs, it's not just about getting excited because it's of the spectacle of playoff hockey. You want to get the connection to the home crowd there'll be a whole bunch of people who are going to buy Sam Bennett jerseys based on what they saw. And then I can say that a bunch of different guys. The fans can connect with different styles of play, and this kind of playoff run will introduce even some of the fans that have been here kind of long, I wouldn't say long suffering, long enjoying fans of the game are now going to get connected to some of the players because they're going to watch them every game and really get an idea of how hard they play.
I know you let Rob Tallis stick with the goalies a lot, but have you gotten the chance to speak to Sergei Bobrovsky about his mindset? Because, I mean, it really seems like he has a pretty positive mindset that's been helping him pretty lately.
So I felt that all year about him. He's got a routine. He's really, there's players that are very, very good in this league that come to the rink, do work, leave, and they don't think about hockey after that. It's not a weakness. And then there's guys that get up and that's their day, and it's been like that for the number of years they've been in the league. So he's that kind of guy. I talked to the goalies about situations that they're in. Like I said, I think I read more body language than anything else. And then I'm only responsible for things that are broken or aren't working. And when they are, I stay the hell away from them. So I say hi to them in the morning. Sergey, how are you? Every once in a while, I'll connect with them and, recently congratulate him, not just on the win, but on the situation that he was in that he rose to. That's the impressive part, going into Game 5 and delivering what he did with the pressure that was under him, on him. Really impressive, but I'm just trying to stay away from the goalies right now.
Paul, you've coached a lot of different teams. Every team has its own unique identity. Where has this team made the biggest impact on you as a coach?
They are willing to endure and then enjoy it, right? So as much as the tone is, let's be as hard as we possibly can and then find a way to enjoy it, I think as a coach, you have to open that door for them. It's okay to be in a good mood and laugh and enjoy it if we're working as hard as we can. And then they set the level of that. So if you got to go back in and tell your team, hey, you guys are having too much fun here and you're not working hard enough, then it's a tug of war, right? But if they'll set that level where you're kind of on the ice watching practice and say, oh yeah, these guys are going today. So then you can laugh with the guy in line. The players have to see the coaches have fun too. They do, right? We can't be asses every day, right? You get tired of that. So the impact on them is we kind of came in and talked about our compete level, how hard we play, how hard we are. And then they just took that to a whole new level so we can all be in a good mood.